Check 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon, guys. This is Drew Burks. Welcome to my free online Google Hangout training. I'm going to talk to you about the online lifestyles and the secrets to the 6 figures. So before we get started, let me just ask you, do you frequently find yourself wishing someone would just tell you how to use the internet, to tell you how to grow your business and turn your ideas into products and profits, and how to sell them online and make more money? Do you wonder if it's even possible to make 6 or 7 figures or more online? How about Facebook? Ever wondered why everyone says Facebook marketing is so great, but you continue to struggle to get any real results? Well, I want you to know, I totally understand. It's not your fault. I don't think it was my fault. I mean, if you're anything like me, you've probably heard a million people or a million opinions on free advice. I know every time I open my email or I go onto Facebook, there's some new guru that's looking to give me a bunch of free information. And it's usually worth about what we pay for it, right? And if you're more confused than ever, well, you're not alone. End of the day, I felt just like you did for the last 6 years, and every day I both talk to in Facebook, in different groups and forums, as well as I see dozens, if not hundreds of other people just expressing their frustration, their confusion, their anger, their shame as to why they haven't been able to figure this out. So that's why I'm doing this webinar. And today in this webinar, I'm going to talk about 3 main things. 1, how do you deal with all of the information, technology, and the guru training overwhelm and actually get shit done? And 2, I'm going to talk to you about the secrets to your first $100,000 a week. Now, about 16 days to save $100,000 a week, we actually just topped $200,000 in just around 14, 15 days, call it 16, with a couple straggling sales. I'm going to tell you the way that it personally changed my thoughts and my behaviors, my overall attitude. And lastly, I'm going to give you a simple strategy that you can start implementing today. Will have you doing far less work than you ever thought possible, making a ton more cash than you ever thought possible, and just really enjoying your life 100-fold. So before we go forward, I want to tell you this webinar is going to be gold for you if you're struggling to succeed online. In other words, if you're struggling to turn your ideas into profits by creating products and building sales funnels and email marketing and understanding all of the moving parts and how to make them work together, if that sounds like you, this webinar is going to be gold. Or this could be and/or, right? If you're tired of buying training courses after training course, I mean, every day there's a new training course on Facebook and Facebook marketing and Facebook ad targeting and Facebook retargeting and video marketing and outsourcing tricks, etc. So if any of these things sound like you, then I urge you to stay with me today. This webinar will absolutely be gold for you. If none of those things are important to you, if none of those are pain points to you, if you're not struggling with any of them, then listen, go ahead and jump off here now because there's something that you could be doing that will be a better use of your time. But if you are feeling any of these pains, then stay with me. So here's my intention for you today. It's very simple. I want to have you leave this webinar better off than when you got here. So I want to answer questions for you. I want to give you an aha moment. I want to give you a strategy that you can go implement. And I want to take the mystery out of doing 6 figures online. And I want to shortcut your path to success from my recent breakthrough success. And I have some really great news for you. You can do this. You absolutely can do this. It's easy, right? I mean, that's what everyone tells us. That's what everyone told me. It's easy. In fact, a lot of people will tell me the product doesn't matter. It's just traffic and conversions. And all of those are absolutely true, but there's a million details in between those components. So I want you to know that this easy stuff is mostly bullshit. I mean, it is simple, but it's just not that easy. And the reason it's not that easy is because nobody that I'm aware of is teaching us the whole story. So I'm afraid I've also got some bad news for you before we go any further. To succeed online, it's absolutely going to require focus, passion, commitment, and a substantial investment of time, and yes, a little bit of money. So if you're not passionate, if you're not committed, if you can't focus, if you don't have time, and if you don't have any money to invest in, listen, it's going to be a long, long, hard road for you. If you're willing to invest these things, then I can show you the system and help you get there much, much quicker. So before we go any further, let me give you a little bit of information about me and who I am. And I think this is important because, unlike so many other marketers that show you pictures of them in front of their borrowed Lamborghini or borrowed Ferrari or their borrowed house, that they're showcasing this lifestyle that they want to live, that truthfully they're probably not living. I want to show you who I am. I'm just a real person. I'm just like you probably. I happen to be a family guy. On the left-hand side, that's my little boy. He's about to turn 5. On the top right is my wife and my mother-in-law and my little boy, and then our new baby. The picture was taken back in June. Little baby boy was born. On the bottom left is my dog with my newborn baby. And she's a Bernese Mountain Dog, everyone asks. So there you go. She's a Bernese Mountain Dog. And amazing dog. I mean, similar temperament to Labs, but long hair, shed like crazy, loves babies. You bring a baby to my house, put the baby down. That's what Molly does. And then the bottom right is me, my little boy, and Molly. And it was one morning, I was getting ready to walk him to school. So I take him to school every day. And this is the lifestyle. So I do what I do, the quote unquote online lifestyle. I do what I do so that I can spend time with my family versus going to a job every day. So a little bit more about me. From 2001, 2002 to 2009, I was a real estate broker. And back up real quick, I guess from 99 to 2000, I started an internet business, and we provided high-speed internet to apartment properties. We actually sold wireless tablets, if you can believe that or not, way before the Apple iPad. And we got featured in some of these magazines. And in my real estate career, I got featured in a lot of these magazines and websites and had a national presence. I did a lot of national speaking. And in 2010, I think it was, I was featured as one of the top 100 most influential people in real estate by Inland News. So not that any of this matters to you, but I put it up here because I want to give you a little bit about my backstory, and also want to just take this moment, which is not a part of this webinar, but I think can make a huge impact and hopefully save you a lot of time and money for my mistakes. So I had built a very good career in real estate. I had built a substantial following on a national basis, and I had a lot of influence, and I turned my back on the audience. The mistake I made was I wanted to turn my back on real estate, the career, the niche, but I inadvertently turned my back to all the people in that, and that cost me a lot of time and money. So the lesson to take away from that is once you have an audience, once you work to take an audience, even if you want to change directions, don't turn your back on the audience, because those audience, they're people just like you and I. And some of them will have an interest in following you and some won't, but let them make that decision. So anyway, that's a side note. Build an audience, keep it. So moving on, in 2009 is when I started winding down my real estate. 2010, I started winding down my real estate career. 2011, really started winding it down. In 2012, I think it was, or maybe 2011, I created my first product. I created all by myself, no partners, called the 90-Day Blog Blueprint. And it was basically 90 days of action plans to do, and it was geared towards real estate agents who wanted to create a WordPress blog site. And it did very well. We're, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, I sold over 6 figures in that product. Went really well. 2012 timeframe, 2013, I started building a product called Escape the Job Life, really a brand that I'm still trying to build up. And the mission behind that is to help liberate people from what I call the job life. That job life could be if you have a 9-to-5, you work in a cubicle. It can be if you're a self-employed entrepreneur, but you've created a job for yourself and not a business. It basically applies to anyone who's trading the majority of their time for the majority of their income. That's what Escape the Job Life is about, helping those people. But, how do you deal with all the information and technology and the guru training overwhelm and actually get shit done? This is really relevant because I felt like this lady looks. And for probably a good 2 years, I purchased every training course I could. I read every book I could, whether it was a physical book or an ebook or a Kindle book. I read the free blogs. I paid to go to the conferences. I hired coaches, trainers, and I did it all. And I felt like this lady I didn't know how to get anything done because I was in this perpetual state of learning. And to the point where I would buy a course, I'd go through it, I'd consume it at lightning speed, I'd get everything, and then I'd think, all right, I'm gonna get to work. And then I would realize, shoot, I just checked my email and there's a new course. So I thought, well, I better know this before I go implement this. And so I'd take that and I'd consume it, digest it all, add it to what I was going to do, start to go implement, and there'd be a new course, right? Sound familiar? It was just overwhelm after overwhelm. But I knew that this thing we call online marketing and internet marketing, I knew it was a puzzle, and I love puzzle analogies, so forgive the images here, but I knew that it was, once I could get this puzzle together, I knew that I could make money. So I found this image and it seemed pretty relevant, right? It's a puzzle with money pieces. And I knew if I could just get together, I could make some money. So hence all of the searching and the training and the coaching and all of the programs I purchased, all the reading, I knew I had all the pieces, or at least I thought I did. So as I put them together, I had a puzzle that was incomplete. And the problem was, not only was it incomplete, I didn't really know where those pieces were. I didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to find them. And so what I call the missing puzzle piece syndrome is all of the quote unquote guru trainers out there, some of them I'm good friends with, but the reality, they're all selling you a really good system, but their system is no more than a piece or a couple pieces to a much larger puzzle, right? So I'll give you an example. If you buy a Facebook retargeting course, you need to know that, but oftentimes it's presented like if we buy that, that's the whole puzzle. And it's not the whole puzzle. It's one piece, 2, 3 pieces at best. So again, sticking with the puzzle analogy, I felt like the lady we saw earlier. I spent years consuming everything, trying to figure it out. I knew if I could just get the puzzle together, I was going to make money, but I was left with this. And I'd find one piece, and another piece would be missing. And so, if you're motivated, if you're ambitious and you're driven, you go to great lengths of the earth. You uncover every stone to find those pieces. And sometimes you have to do that by reverse engineering what other people are doing. Meaning you watch their webinars and you study what they did and you read their sales copy and you study what they did and you opt into their list and you see what they did. And what's unfortunate about this is that when we do this, we're copying their tactics, not the strategies, because we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't have the keys to the castle, so to speak. We're only seeing what we can by opting in and trying to reverse engineer it. So what happens more than not is when you take that approach, you copy people's tactics and you try to fill in the missing puzzle pieces, you're unfortunately left like this poor little zebra going the wrong way. And for the record, I tend to think anytime the masses are going one way, you should go the other way. But in the context of this, what happens is the zebras coming forward, they're the ones that are making the money. And if you copy tactics, you're left going the wrong way. And it leads to frustration and overwhelm and costs you money and it costs you time. So I just want to caution you that is that you can't just get through on copying tactics. So how do you get shit done? The first thing is you need clarity and you need focus. So let me tell you about that. Over the last 2.5 years, probably I've been to a lot of events where they're internet marketing events, marketing automation events, and I've talked to a lot of people that are making a lot more money than I am. And I ask each of them, how did you get from where I'm at to where you're at? How'd you do this? Like I know you had to come the same path. What happened? And they all told me the same thing. Every one of them told me the exact same thing. As they said, and get ready because this is not glamorous, but if you'll listen to what they told me, I think you'll find an aha in here. Is what they told me was very simple. We knew we were stuck. We knew where we wanted to go. So we knew at the end of the road, like we knew our goals. What we did is we locked ourselves away in a room with no distractions, no email, no phone, no loved ones, no spouses, no pets, no kids, no friends, just the people who were relevant to the team or the project. They locked themselves in a room and they got shit done. It's simple. Very anticlimactic. And the first time I heard it, honestly, I was a little bit annoyed. Like, this person just doesn't want to tell me. And the second person told me the same thing. I was like, man, no one at this conference is willing to open up. And then the next conference, people kept telling me the same thing. I started thinking, man, maybe there's something to it. Now, maybe I'm slow because 2.5 years, I'm finally like, oh, everyone told me this. Maybe I should go lock myself in a room, get clear on what I want, map it out, build it, get it done, and go. So that's what I've done. So clarity affords focus. So once you get clear on what you want, you start at the back. You know, the best way, I learned this from Frank Kern. This is a great process, very simple again. Take out a sheet of paper, draw a line left to right. So turn your paper horizontal, draw a line left to right. On the left, mark an X, that's where you're at now. On the far right, you know, put whatever your goal is, whatever your end result is, whether it's a dollar amount or list size or a number of product launches or a new house or a new car, debt-free. Doesn't matter what it is, but that's what you're going for. And then you just want to draw, you know, vertical hash marks across that line, left to right, to indicate the major milestones. So one of the examples he used was like, you know, if you're single and you want to get married, well, what has to happen? Well, the first line is you gotta get a date, right? And then you gotta have a successful date, and then you gotta get invited out on the second date, right? And then so forth. And you gotta, so that's kind of what you want to do. You want to create a very visual, simple, left to right, straight line method, what you want. You want to focus on that. And the next part of doing that is, right, you need, once you know what you are after, you do need the proven recipe. You need a complete system to follow, because if you don't have that, you're going to be reverse engineering and copying tactics. So how do you get that complete recipe, that complete system? Well, the best way to do that is to, you know, go talk to a coach, go talk to a mentor, go into the Facebook groups and people where people who are doing what you want to do are doing it, and ask very specific questions. So not open-ended general questions, very specific. Like, so you know, if in your milestone, you know, sticking with that analogy, if you're trying to get married, but your first thing is you need a date, right? Well, you need to go find out what are the options for you to get a date right now, right? There are online dating sites. You know, you can go out to a bar. You have friends that could introduce you. So you're going to go ask very specific questions, and you need the resources. And resources could be tools or money, software, websites. And something I want to point out to you about resources are, Tony Robbins says that it's never, never, never a lack of resources, but more often, if not always, a lack of resourcefulness. So I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit further into the webinar. And in fact, that has to do with the one strategy that can completely change your life. And you need a tracking system. I want to be just really quick on this. You want to track everything you do. You've heard if you don't measure, you can't improve. So that's why I like this baking analogy. If you don't bake your cake or your brownies or your lasagna or whatever it is, if you don't bake it in the sequence, in the order the recipe calls for it, you'll be left with a product, but it won't be the product. It won't be the result, the outcome you were hoping to get. So you have to measure things. You have to track them. So now let me give you the secrets. And some of these secrets are going to be very simple. Some of them may be like, oh, I hadn't thought of that before. But these are secrets that I've learned, not just from this really successful launch we've had, but probably over the last few years I've been involved in, I would say, 5 or 6 multi-six-figure product launches. And these are some of the secrets I've learned from them, and I want to share with you. So we talk about sales funnels, right? That's the terminology, or just the funnel. I came up with what I thought this, I think there's 8 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 8, there's probably 8 elements to just about every sales funnel. Some may have more, some may have less, but it's a pretty common example. So lead magnets, landing pages, thank you pages, your Facebook ads. So remember, you have to spend money on ads. Your email list, core offer, sales page, and thank you page. And ultimately, all of these elements boil down to only 2 things you need to worry about. And before I tell you what those 2 things are, let me be clear that each one of these, again, there's a million details in here, but I want to simplify it for you because I want it to eliminate overwhelm. So the only 2 things you really need to worry about in any of this is 1, images and design, and 2, copy. So, to give an example, you want to build a funnel? You're clear on what you want. You're clear on your offer. The offer is where everything starts. So when you get clear on your offer, you can basically take copy from that offer and write your emails. You can take copy from that offer and create your Facebook ads. You can take copy from that and create your landing pages, thank you pages, and your lead magnet. And each of those things are going to need images. They're going to need branding, right? Whether they need a logo or product images like e-covers and DVDs and all that jazz. You're going to need branding like an email header and a landing page headers. So, but it all comes down to those two things, images and design and copy. So the takeaway is, if you are not a graphic designer, you need to go get a designer and an image person to help you. You can do that through Fiverr or Odesk or Elance or onlinejobs.ph or Craigslist, an intern from your local high school or college, but you have to have that. If you don't have that, you're going to hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. So trust me, you need image design person and copy. So if you're not a copy person, meaning you can't write, or you have the idea but you don't know how to get the idea from your head to an ebook to a landing page, you need someone to help you with the copy. And the second secret is you have to set realistic goals. Everyone's out there talking about make millions of dollars. Even I'm telling you $200,000 in 2 weeks. Well, it all starts with a realistic goal. If you don't do this, you're going to get disappointed. You're going to be frustrated. So I'm going to give you some pretty low, common, pretty obtainable. Anyone, on this webinar should be able to look at this and go, okay, that seems reasonable, right? I've done my best not to inflate this. And at the same time, the conversions, the percentages are very, very common across the board. So let's say you had a list size of 1,000 people. If you were to email those 1,000 people, on average, about 20% of them will actually open the email. Doesn't mean they read it or they'll take any action, but 20% will open it. So that would be 200 people. Out of those 200 people, if you were to invite them to a webinar, about 30% of them would RSVP, meaning they would opt in. They'd say, yes, I want to go. So 30% of 200 is 60. Now, out of those 60 people, about 30% will actually show up. So 18 people would be on your webinar. And if you were to offer something for sale, assuming the offer is in line with the attendees, then you'd average 1.8 sales. So let's just round up to 2. And if you sold a product for $97, 1.8 is $174.60. Let's round up to 2, it'd be $194, right? So you can kind of get an idea of, you need a lot of people. The list size, you need to have a big audience because most people don't take any action. So this is a reasonable, very realistic goal. If you don't, and if you're just starting out, you probably don't have a list, but that's not a big deal. I can definitely tell you how to, sorry about that, someone's texting me to have some issues on the webinar here. So I can tell you how to get the list. That's not an issue. I don't want you to focus on that. I want you to focus on the conversions. They really focus on from the attendee, the RSVP down. Those are the numbers I think you really are best to focus on. And again, another secret should be obvious is that you have to spend money on ads. If you're not willing to spend money on ads, then this is not going to work. You have to spend money on ads. So it's a big secret for you. So here's the secrets to our first $100,000 week. Again, we've done over $200,000 now since I did this slide, but $100,000 a week, I got to tell you, it's life-changing. And it personally changed my thoughts, behaviors, and overall attitude. There's no question about it. These are a screenshot from our Infusionsoft. So at the time of this screenshot, we've actually done 156,846. Like I said, it's over 200 now. And what happens when that type of money flows into your business is you become much less stressed. You become a little more relaxed. So let's leave it at that. So before that happened, for the last 6 years, I felt like this: lost, confused, unclear, disoriented, bewildered, frustrated, mad, angry. I didn't know which way to go. I was going left, I was going right, I was going backwards, I was going forward. It was just felt like this. After this week, not this week, so a couple weeks ago, but after the $100,000 week, I felt much more like this. I was stress-free. I was suddenly issues and problems that have been consuming me weren't important anymore. Making decisions from a position of freedom and a position of choice was empowering. And I want this for you. I want this for everybody, hence escape the job life. So here's the next secret that I want to tell you is you have to have an audience, right? This is a 1,000-person list. The way we were able to do so well is we actually had a product offering for a market, an audience that was fanatical. And I think that is the biggest takeaway for me personally. You can take it for its worth, but one of my first mentors, I mentioned this earlier, he told me that product didn't matter, right? He made it very easy. Oh, it's easy to make money. Product doesn't matter. While I do think that's true to a certain extent, when you have a fanatical audience, the product matters because the product has to be relevant to that audience. But listen, when you have a fanatical audience, you can go create a product for them, and that's when you can make very, very large sums of money fast. But the big, big, big secret, the big aha moment, you may already know this, but this was huge to me. The big secret is that you need a team, period. No questions, no discussion, no debate. You need a team. And if you say, I don't have one, I don't have the resources, the money to go build one, remember Tony Robbins says, it's never a lack of resources, it's always a lack of resourcefulness. So let me tell you, you have to have a team. Because although it boils down to two things, copy, images, and design, there's a million details within that. Technology, traffic, resources, execution, just getting shit done. Automation, tracking, scaling the business, tweaks. You have to have a team. So let me tell you, that's the big, big, big secret. You need a team. Now, I want to make a distinction for you here because everyone out there, myself included, is telling you, hey, you got to outsource. You build a team, you outsource. Well, again, a little bit misleading, a little bit of a missing puzzle piece in that. So I want to tell you about that and really show you how I used that missing piece to create a new model for myself and one that you can take and start implementing today. So outsourcing, for the record, I'm in love with it. I've been outsourcing things since 2007. However, before I tell you about the strategy that I use is one tip that I learned about outsourcing, two tips I'll give you that can make a big, big difference. So if you've struggled to outsource or find a good person, then it's possible you're making some of the mistakes I was making. The first mistake I was making is I was hiring people piecemeal. So someone to do this logo, someone to do that. And, I wasn't hiring people full time, I was just hiring piecemeal. So that was my mistake number one. I've learned you're best to go hire someone that's really good. I prefer people who work in the Philippines for a variety of reasons, but I recommend you go hire someone from the Philippines and you hire a PM, a project manager. And you hire this person to be your right-hand person, your right-hand man or woman, and you groom them to effectively run your business for you. And then you let that person go hire all the different people that you need, whether it's full-time, part-time, or piecemeal. So tip number one. Tip number two is that even when outsourcing, you need to be very, very specific in what you outsource. You need to be a little less so when you have a PM, but you need to train a PM to do this. You need to email very specific tasks to these virtual assistants, because if you don't, then what will happen is they'll start to make mistakes. They'll start to get overwhelmed. They'll start to give you work back that's not what you're looking for. So the more specific you can be in your delegating tasks, the better. And if you hire a PM to manage it all, that's where you're going to start to see some real success and freedom from the VA. But going back to the big secret, you have to have a team. Well, there's a simple strategy that doesn't involve outsourcing. You can start implementing today, and it's going to have you doing, like I said, a fraction of the work you're used to doing. It's going to eliminate your overwhelm, just like that. It's going to have you make a ton more money in cash, and you're going to enjoy life 100-fold. So before I tell you that, I've spent the, I don't know, last year and a half building a consulting business. I'm not going to go into that whole story now, but I had some really good clients. I was making really good money. My 4-year-old told me in April, I was putting him to bed, reading him bedtime stories, and he actually said, Daddy, can I ask you a question? And I said, of course. What is it? And he said, can you please stop going into work at the consulting offices? And I said, why? He said, well, I miss you, and we're going to have a new baby, and I want you to be at home with us. So consulting was a huge mistake. Now, yes, I got paid very, very well. I only had to work 3 days a week, and I made, a very, very good income from it. But it was a huge mistake. It was a huge mistake because I fell victim to the trap of trading time for money. So if you are trading the majority of your time for your money, that's a bad mistake. It's not scalable, number one. There's no leverage in it. And if rather than me go on a rant about it, there's a book called The Millionaire Fastlane. If you haven't read that book, go read that book. And you too will see for yourself that trading time for money is a huge mistake. So what is the simple strategy I keep talking about? Well, this is one of my favorite quotes, and the answer can be found in this. It says, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. One of my favorite quotes. I actually had that quote up on my real estate office back in 2005. But the answer, the strategy, the secret is what we call strategic collaboration. So let me tell you what I did. My personal expertise is productization and marketing automation. Those are my two skill sets. I'm trying to figure out traffic. I'm trying to study traffic. I'm trying to learn it. I have all the courses. I paid for it. So in my spare time, that's what I do versus watching TV. But I partnered up with a friend of mine who is a traffic ninja. He does traffic as well as anyone I've ever seen on the planet. And then we partnered up with a person who is a content machine. And she's a content machine, and she has a fanatical audience. And so we partnered, and we helped her productize and package her content. And Josh drove the traffic to the webinar pages. We did a series of webinars with her. And then I ran all the automation. We had over 10,000 people opt in for the webinar. About 35% of them actually showed up, and about 14.3% made purchases. So you need a team. Strategic collaboration, very, very important. So again, you could go do this today. You can go find someone who has a skill set you don't have. So rather than trying to figure out how to do it all, which is what I think most of us were doing, go find the people and do a deal with them. So if you're struggling to turn your ideas into profits, if you're struggling to create products and build sales funnels, email marketing, understand all the moving parts, then I want you just to keep calm and start collaborating. And this is just a quick laundry list of all things, kind of the horizontal line, left to right, come up with an idea. You got to do market research. You got to outline your product. You got to build a product. You got to build a funnel, i.e. the system. You got to do all the pre-marketing. You got to, which is webinars and videos and email and automation and speaking and networking. Then you actually got to do the launch. And you got to get people to the launch, and you got to make an offer, and you got to convert. But herein lies the problem, right? If you're trying to do all that yourself, you're never going to really get to the next level. And you might have a few successful launches. You might even have a few really good successful $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 launches. Really great. It's a year's income from a launch. So, if you're anything like me, if you're anything like most of us as entrepreneurs, you're probably going to still go and learn all this. That's fine. But in the meantime, go do a strategic collaboration deal. Because the last thing you need is more training on the individual pieces of the puzzle. And you don't need training courses. What I think that you need, and if you struggle from any of this, if you're still with me, is I think you need some coaching and support and accountability. And you can get that through strategic collaboration. You could get that through working with a coach who's done this successfully. So again, I don't think you need training at this point as much as you need the coaching, the support, and accountability. So before we end today, here's some action items, 5 simple action items. Map out your ideas, or what I call the paths to profit. Find the audience for your product, or go find, find an audience for your product, or go find products for a fanatical audience, excuse me. You got to outline and build your system. You got to outsource what you aren't good at, or or find the people to strategically collaborate with. And then you got to launch. So before we hang up, I want to just tell you how you can get in touch with me. So if you have any questions about this, you can email me. My email's on the screen, drewburks@gmail.com. But if you feel like you need some coaching, you need some support, you need some accountability, you don't know where to go get that, then listen, I love helping people, and I love sharing this message. It falls under Escape the Job Life. If I can help you, send me an email today with your name, phone, and a brief statement of where you're at in the business. I'll be more than happy to help you. If you're super motivated, you don't even want to wait for that, you can just click the button right below this video, and you'll have the opportunity to go ahead, make a small deposit, and go ahead and get started right away. And what will happen when we do that, we'll jump on the phone, we'll go through it, we'll outline a fast action plan for you that I can help you implement. And if at the end of that call you don't feel like it's right, then I'll refund your deposit, no worries. So anyway, thanks for sticking with me for this long. I hope you had a great day. Hope you learned something today. And there's how you can get in touch with me. Email me or click the button below and we'll go ahead and jump on the phone right away. All right, thanks. Have a great day.